Hello, Wolfpack. Bitcoin is getting dragged down by the boots by the traditional markets right now. I mean, it's actually insane. The S&P 500 is dropping, like it's nothing really. I mean, not like it's a brick. It's dropping very, very quickly comparative to how it moves. And, if this thing doesn't move very quickly, it's only started moving quickly in 2020 as we saw that, rampant money printing that's just getting funneled into the market. And we saw the angle of which this thing started taking off just accelerating. You can look, if we zoom out there, look at the acceleration during 2020 to 2021, and we've finally seen that start to reverse now, obviously due to interest rate hikes. That was the initial cause of it, at least, and that was the initial fear that led the first institutional investors and the first retail investors to start the sell-off, and then it's just kind of domino affected and snowballed from there. And the thing is as well, we're not done with interest rate hikes, right? That's another thing you need to consider. And I speak about this quite a bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on it today, don't worry. But interest rate hikes are only really, I wouldn't say they're getting started, but they're still ramping up, right? We just saw a 75 basis point hike, the first 75 basis point hike in I think 28 years. That's not a sign of a market that's ready to settle down yet. That's not a sign of a market that's ready to bottom out yet. That's the sign of a market in the midst of the correction. And I think that's where we are with the S&P 500 right now. And I think that's really coming through on Bitcoin, and that's why we're seeing this rapid drop. I mean, essentially from the 27th of March, at 48k, we haven't really seen any sort of, bounces at all. I mean, we saw consolidation at 30k, but it wasn't a bounce, and we've just dropped straight from 48k all the way down to 20k with really nothing in between. And that's kind of a sign of, absolute pure and utter weakness in the market right now, and I wouldn't have expected to happen at that fast. And the only reason it's happened that fast, quite clearly, is because of the S&P 500. And looking at the 4-year cycle theory, we can see that we're not even, where is that chart? There it is. We're not even due for a bottom until Q4 yet. Right, so Q4 is when we're expected to bottom out according to the 4-year cycle theory, and the acceleration we've seen down towards these 20k price levels is concerning because it means, well, we've still got 3.5 months until the first possible chance we can bottom according to this 4-year cycle theory. So 3.5 months of this, it could end us at very low prices on Bitcoin. That's why I've said before, I don't think we're going to hold the 200-week SMA. The 200-week SMA is this green line here on Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to hold that. I think that, we've reached it way too soon, and there's still way too much correction that needs to happen on the S&P 500 and traditional markets for Bitcoin to bottom out, right? Bitcoin simply cannot bottom out in this macro environment. I mean, the last daily candle for the S&P 500, it was a negative 3% daily candle. As a reaction to that daily candle, we saw Bitcoin go down, I think, 10%. Right, you can see the correlation there's very, very strong. And if the S&P is not done correcting, how can Bitcoin be done correcting? Unless a miraculous recovery happens where it depegs from traditional markets, which is unlikely, but it's possible, I suppose, but I don't see it as likely. And so, with all of that said, it's like, well, how low can the S&P 500 go? Because that's kind of answering the question, how low can Bitcoin go? Well, I think the S&P 500 can go a lot lower. I'm not going to give you a price target for it because it's not based on rationality. It's not based on TA. And so for me to give you a price target on something that's not based on TA, I may as well just pull out a number out of a hat, right? This is not TA. This is FA. The fundamentals are bringing this thing down. And so there's no real way you can predict where it's going to go. But what we can do is we can take note of this structure and we can zoom all the way back to 2008 and see what happened here. And if we zoom in 2008, we can see that it's actually very similar. All right, what we saw on the S&P 500 in 2008 during the recession of that period of time was a quick acceleration, rounding out, right? We saw kind of this channel formation and then we bang, the floor absolutely dropped beneath us and we bottomed out soon after that and then started a slow recovery, right? What we can go ahead and do is take a fractal from this time period and apply it to 2022. And we can see that this is actually extremely similar to what we're seeing right now. And we could actually see, I don't know if we'll see it, but we could actually see the floor kind of drop out beneath us here. And you can see there, now obviously I've adjusted it a little bit because the price, the market cap wasn't the same in 2008, so I have to adjust it a little bit, of course, but that's pretty damn similar. That's pretty damn spot on. I mean, we saw that acceleration period here, a dip, right, correction, came up for one peak, dropped, came up for a second peak, dropped, came up for a lower low, dropped, came up for a lower high again, dropped, came up for a lower high again, and then saw a big correction. And we could be in the midst of that big correction right now. And if this fractal has anything to say for it, we could be seeing all the way down to 2,700 in the S&P 500, which will put us back to prices we haven't seen since, besides COVID, since around March 2019, which honestly isn't actually too long ago. And if you consider the fact that we're in a recession, the price going back to the price it was 3 years ago, it's not really that much of a stretch. And so I think that fractal is really, really compelling. And I'm glad I picked that up because I haven't really been fractal hunting on the traditional charts here, but I think that's very compelling fractal, and that's definitely going to be the title of this video, because that's insane. And if that does occur, you can imagine the carnage that's going to take place on BTC. The interesting thing about this fractal as well that I want to bring up is the fact that according to this fractal, we will see the bottom in October 2022, which is in fact Q4 this year, which would put us at the bottom on BTC according to the 4-year cycle theory. Crazy. You could say it's a coincidence. You could also say it's a trend. You could say whatever it is, but it's pretty crazy regardless of whatever it is. And it's something we're definitely 100% going to be keeping an eye on. In fact, I'm going to save that chart. I'm going to bring it up in videos in the future. But moving forward, it's not entirely rational for Bitcoin to do what it's doing right now, and that's why we think it's influenced by the S&P 500, and it is influenced by the S&P 500. We've dropped below 200-week SMA. We haven't lost it yet per se, because it's a weekly chart indicator, but I mean, it's very unlikely that will hold, and that is the macro bottom indicator for the entire price history of Bitcoin. And so losing that would actually be the first time in Bitcoin's entire history, right, that it's lost that. If we do lose that, if we do close the candle below, say, 22k, which would be a convincing close below it, and more likely below 20k would be a super convincing close below it. But we're on that 20k support right now, and some people would say, well, we need to drop more from here. We need to keep going down, and I think that ultimately, at this point, it's in the hands of the S&P 500. But if we're looking at the Bitcoin chart, and we go into 4-hourly chart here, this is the 4-hourly chart inverted, so it's flipped upside down, okay? Some would say, yeah, this is a bullish chart. It's in an uptrend. It's got an uptrending support line. But some would say it definitely needs to come back and retest either this red line here at 23.8k or this support line before it can bounce up and do something like that again. We are overextended here. We don't usually just go up to resistance and then just break it straight away. That's not typically how charting works. And so I would expect 20k to hold for at least some period of time here. I mean, honestly, unless the S&P 500 drops another 3% on the daily candle today, which is very possible, right? I don't know how quick this thing's going. The fractal certainly suggests it's going to go pretty quick. Then, we might lose 20k, and that's external factors. It's not something TA can tell us. But if TA is telling us anything right now, and trust me, it's not telling us too much because it's all being invalidated, it would say that Bitcoin will hold 20k and possibly bounce up to, say, 26, 27, maybe even 23.8, the worst case scenario. It is saying we need to hold this for a bit. It's saying we need to bounce. You don't typically see a drop to a major support level and then you just drop straight through. It's not really how it works. You see consolidation, you see a bounce upwards, you see something like that, and then you drop down, just like what we saw here. Right, that is a very, very typical, it's almost like a step pattern. I don't know necessarily what you called it. It doesn't necessarily look like a bear flag, so I'm not going to call it that. But it's like there's a step here, you plateau for a bit. There's another step, you plateau for a bit. It's like steps, stairs. That's what it looks like. And that's typically how you drop. And that's typically how you rise as well in a financial market. And so I would expect to see something like that. I don't think the bottom's in, but that definitely, it just would be ridiculous if we lost this level at 20k. It would be a testament to how bad the situation is in the traditional markets right now. Where do I think Bitcoin's going to go long term? Would I think it's actually going to bottom? I think it has a decent chance of bottoming out at, say, 18k. Let me bring up the weekly chart here and we can actually show you. I think it has a decent chance of bottoming at, say, where is the 300-week SMA, which would be at around 18k in Q4. Alternatively, I think it can bottom out at this major support level that I'm going to outline here, which is about 13.5k, and then all the way down to 11.5k. I think that's the next level. So either 18k, 13.5k to 11.5k. Those are the levels I'm looking at. Definitely in the teens. I highly doubt we'll go below 10k. I think below 10k is honestly just, for lack of a better word, FUD. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't see a scenario in which Bitcoin drops below 10k. If you're just looking at the total Bitcoin that has been lost, right? Lost over time. I mean, like, no one has access to it. Even that alone would probably bring us up to a few thousand USD. And then there's obviously going to be some investors in there. I don't think below 10k is possible. I think the absolute worst case scenario for Bitcoin, absolute worst case scenario, is 13.5k to 11.5k. And even though that's the absolute worst scenario, I still think that's pretty likely, right? So yeah, it's not looking good right now for Bitcoin, but just consolidating that fact with you guys and consolidating that further in your brain, it's like, well, this is what Bitcoin looks like right now. 28.6k was the major level that we held throughout the entire bull market in 2021, and actually throughout this consolidation region in 2022. That was very much the supporting line for all of the price action, all the bullish price action that happened on here. Underneath this line is bear market territory, okay? And so we've lost this line now. And so do you think we're going to stop right here? It doesn't really seem logical. If you think about TA, if you think about how prices typically move, what you can do is you flip over the chart and you can see that, well, removing bias, this looks pretty bullish, right? This is flipped upside down, right? Consolidation under the line, constant retest, we finally break out. You think we're going to stop right there and reverse and then just do that? That doesn't look like TA to me. TA would suggest that we consolidate, we do upwards more, we do something like that, and then we come back around later in the year. We don't just bottom out here and then just do this. That's not really, there's no other way to explain it except for it doesn't look right because it's not right? Another thing people will talk about a lot that I want to quickly cover is Bitcoin dominance. They're like, well, Bitcoin dominance is meant to go up in a bull market, right? Bitcoin dominance is a chart that measures the strength of Bitcoin in relation to altcoins, right, in a percentage form. So it's at 45% right now, which means 45% of the total amount of money in cryptocurrency right now is in Bitcoin, and 55% the rest is in altcoins, right? So this typically goes up in a bear market, which makes sense because people are flocking from altcoins into Bitcoin for safety, right? And it is going up. It is trending upwards, so we can't invalidate that yet. But we have seen a massive red week here. Huge red week for Bitcoin dominance, which means that altcoins are actually gaining strength against Bitcoin in this week. And I think the reason for this, might just be the massive amount of volatility, which causes complete irrationalities in the price action, for sure. It's also very short term, so we can't really say anything too much about it yet. It is a longer term chart, so looking at 6 days and trying to predict a trend reversal is like, no, it's not really how it works. But what we could say as well is that, well, perhaps people are also losing faith in Bitcoin in this bear market because of the traditional market recession. Typically, it's people losing faith in altcoins and they flock into Bitcoin because they know Bitcoin's going to be around. But perhaps there is such a large amount of fear in the market right now, right? Due to the fact that the S&P 500 is correcting massively, that people are also losing faith in Bitcoin, and hence, Bitcoin dominance is just going to do whatever it wants because people are selling both Bitcoin and altcoins at an equal rate. I don't know. That's just speculation. I think, honestly, we'll probably just continue to go upwards in the future. This is probably just a short-term irrationality, but it's interesting nevertheless to look at. And the last thing I want to talk about, really, is the fact that there are some indicators, surprisingly, and this is where it becomes a bit of a mind twister, right? And I can really understand, even though I don't agree with it, I can really understand why people are, predicting the macro bottom is in. I can understand it because there are charts that are suggesting something like that, right? If we look at the monthly chart and we look at the 44, right? The number 44 on the monthly chart, we can see that it's been the macro bottom indication in both of the previous bear markets, right? We have reached 44 in the RSI. In fact, we are going past it, which would indicate that we're at the macro bottom for Bitcoin. Moving forward further, if we look at something like the weekly chart, and we bring up the 75 SMA, the 50 SMA, and the 200-week SMA, right? We can see that every time the 50-week has crossed underneath the 75-week, every time the red has crossed under the purple, we have seen the macro bottom for Bitcoin. Happened in 2015, happened in 2018, and it's happened again, and that would indicate the macro bottom is in for Bitcoin as well, right? So you've got two charts that are saying, hey, this is the bottom. You've got the 200-week SMA that's saying, hey, this is the bottom. You've got the weekly chart RSI, which I haven't looked at yet, showing us that this is the lowest level we have ever seen on the weekly chart RSI, right? We have not seen this level since 2015, and we actually were below it yesterday. This is the lowest level on the weekly RSI we've ever seen. So there's lots of things right now that are suggesting, hey, the bottom's in, the bottom's in, the bottom is in. The problem is this. Bitcoin has made very clear that it's not respecting TA right now. It's not respecting TA. It's respecting fundamentals. And the fundamentals are extremely bearish, and the fundamentals are going to push it further down, in my opinion. That's interesting about Bitcoin. That chart there, that fractal from a 2008 recession, very scary stuff. And we're going to be looking at that a little bit more intensely tomorrow. I'm going to be, finalizing it, consolidating it, making it as precise as can be. It's a bit rough now. I actually just pulled out for the first time just then. But I'm going to be looking at that a bit more tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys. Before we end the video, I want to look at a few things. Hope you stick around. I appreciate it if you do. Firstly, we've got Wolves of Crypto V.I.P. If you want altcoin trading signals, if you want prioritized reply to comments, if you want a 2-hour video on market psychology, if you want WOC weekly newsletter access where I cover everything that's happening in the market in a short paragraph, right? Or not paragraph, few pages, usually 10 pages. You can get all of that with VIP membership, the Wolves Crypto VIP membership on the YouTube channel here, $28 USD a month, for, again, an altcoin trading signal every second day, been extremely profitable so far. Prioritized reply to comments. As the channel grows, I won't be able to get back to every single comment, and so if you want me to reply to your comments, here's your opportunity to pay for it. And then we've got a 2-hour video on market psychology, which has been claimed by many to be the most useful video I've ever made, which is interesting, right? Because I'm a TA channel, but it turns out that if you don't have the right mindset, you can't do TA regardless, right? You need the psychology to back it, and that's why I made that video there. And then the WOC Weekly newsletter access. Thanks for joining up to the people who have. We've got over 150 members right now, so if you join, you'd be in good company. Moving forward, BitGet is the exchange we use on the WOC Week, on the Wolves of Crypto VIP. Okay, so if you're going to join the VIP, you're going to have to join BitGet. And even if you're not part of the VIP, join BitGet anyway, because it's got half the fees of Binance. It's got non-KYC. And also you can join and get access to over $4,000 of rewards by completing some tasks if you use my referral link, which is in the pinned comment below. Literally takes about 10 seconds, just not 10 seconds, probably a minute or two to sign up. Really short process because it's non-KYC. So go ahead and do that. And then moving forward, become a trader, a 10-unit course from the Crypto Academy. If you want to learn how to trade, if you want to learn TA, and again, if you want to learn psychology and FA as well, this is the course for you. It takes you from everything you need to know, right? What is cryptocurrency, all the way through to how to trade, how to find trades, advanced risk management, advanced trading strategies, right? Everything you need to know in a 40-hour course, about 450 slides, about 80 videos developed by myself and Megawell Crypto. We're excited to announce as well, we've got a Trustpilot set up. So if you go to the website, you can go and click this button and you can read some of the reviews. Some reviews will be flowing in more over the next few days, I assume, because we've only just sent out recently the fact that we have a Trustpilot to the people who bought the course. We didn't have it previously. If you want to check that out, go ahead and click on the website link in the description below, or also email us here at cryptoacademycourses@gmail.com, and we'll send you the payment information. We'll also send you kind of screenshots of what the course actually looks like, so you can see what it is before you buy it. Obviously, that's very important. We understand that, and so we're going to show you that. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.